the sum of all my parts, a domestic beast with a hairy heart, trapped within a walled suburbia. I've found my tastes are somewhat underground, between the shadows and the cracks. I am building my utopia. I need to break free from all that binds, that makes me old before my time, in this world of dystopia. My love is like a bright guiding light, shining in the darkness of the night, the star of my utopia. In the motion of the sea, in the air that we breathe, can you feel me? In the stars and in the trees, in the song of the bees, can you hear me? Sum of all my parts, a space jockey from a distant star, marooned upon dystopia. I've found my tastes are somewhat underground, between the shadows and the cracks. I am building my utopia. In the motion of the sea, in the air that we breathe, can you feel me? In the stars and in the trees, in the song of the bees, can you hear me? In our utopia.
blood ceremony into the coven on Witterson's radio. What was it? What we heard before? It was Brendan Perry, Utopia.
Yes.
On Witterson's.
It's a favorite here.
Radio for your spiritual side. Twisted approach to the left-hand path. And yeah, well, it's a favorite here, but I don't have it on my phone yet. I keep forgetting to get that one, so we only play that one when we're in the studio. You see how quiet it is?
It's a special occasion. We're in the studio today.
Is it? No traffic. It's almost too quiet. Oh no, that's gonna fuck with me. Maybe it was like.
Do you want me to start making noise?
I make noise. I act like a helicopter every so often. There you go. All right. I feel more at home here. Hey, Jillian in the chat room. Yeah. Well, so we got special things, special guests tonight. We've got Witchdoctor Utu coming on.
The dangerous Witchdoctor.
Dangerous. Oh, and that's we court danger every possibility.
We only have the dangerous guests on here.
Yeah, we didn't. We didn't have him on until we heard he was dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we're
we
like,
heard he was dangerous.
Whatever.
Fuck. Yeah. All right. Gotta get that guy. I always thought he was interesting with flaming skull thing on Facebook that would pop up and stuff. But
he's not posing.
Never knew anything about him. But thought he was. He kept popping up in the people that you may know especially as soon as I signed on for Hex Fest next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going, I have a hard time friending people. I just usually don't do that. If you're on my friends list, you probably friended me, and we had, a certain amount of mutual friends, or it just didn't happen. You're just not on my friends list. So Witchdoctor Utu is going to be coming on in a few. If you read the intro to the show, he's a controversial character apparently. I had no idea. Probably would have had him on sooner because we do that too here on Witterson's.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to play another song to get that set up. I gotta make sure it's on. Oh, that's a classic there. And we'll be back on Witterson's with our special guest, Witchdoctor Utu.
Father, can you hear me? How have I let you down? I curse the day that I was born, and all the sorrow in this world.
Widdershins Radio. Was that Bad Religion? Yeah, you hear Bad Religion a lot on this show. So I think we got it hooked up. Always weird when we go back into the interview studio after not doing it in a while. I got to refigure out how stuff works sometimes. So let me see. I believe we have Witchdoctor Utu on the air.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can definitely hear you now. Hey,
All right.
I don't know if you could hear us when we were off the air, but it used to be that I could hear, you could hear us off the air and we could hear you, but I didn't hear you. But all right, so it's working. Well, Merry Meet is, one of my family trees says. It's good to meet you finally. Welcome to the show. Oh, might have a Skype lag here. I gotta tell you, Witchdoctor Utu just installed Skype. Just be on the show, so the learning curve might be large. See here.
It's not me.
There you go. Now I hear you.
It's not me. I'm sitting on it right.
You get these weird sounds sometimes when the connection goes weird on Skype. Skype's not the best program in the world, but it's integrated into the Spreaker software. So until they integrate something else or give us a way to just hook a hard line through there, we're kind of limited to that. But welcome to the show. We talked a little bit in the liner notes about your work, but tell us about the book right away.
Well, I'm afraid it's almost going to be climactic at this point. I might be watching to get a chance to read it. It's essentially a simple ways to work and invite and recognize and exalt spirits of the underground world, including white and black. I want to take 1 second just to sort of see the Joe mentioned. And I've written a book working with spirits of the underground world, and only included the white ones. I'm sure that would So the absurdity is originally challenged by certain people glorifying black heroes of the underground world. So the book, personal things that I've discovered over the years, it's about 5-fold for the purposes of why I did it. One is because there are so many young spirits in this continent who are unnamed and have been forgotten, wandering around, that were heroes that didn't make it all the way to freedom. For 100,000 or so freedom seekers that left the game 60 years into Canada, or at least the Northeast, the majority of them being workers and various mystics of all sorts of traditions.
Excuse me, Utu. I think. Why don't we? You heard me when we were off the air, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna have to cut to a song and try something better. But I'll tell you about it in just a second. We're gonna play a song, work out the sound problems. Somebody's telling me in the chat room what it sounded like, so we'll try something else here. And we'll be right back with Witdershins.
His eyes they closed, and his last breath spoke. He had seen all to be seen. A life once full, now an empty vase, wilt the blossoms on his early grave. Walk away, me boy, walk away, me boy, and by morning we'll be free. Wipe that golden tear from your mother dear, and raise what's left of the flag for me. Then the rosary beads, counting 1, 2, 3, fell apart as they hit the floor. In our garb of black, we must pay respect to the colour we're born to mourn. Walk away, me boys, walk away, me boys, by morning we'll be free. Wipe the golden tear from your mother dear, raise what's left of the flag for me. Staggeroo, an angry fist start a wound filled with hatred and remorse, where it pick and scratch till the blood didn't hear from your mother, dear. And raise what's left of the flag for me.
Wittershins, Flogging Molly, and we're back. Utu Witchdoctor, I'm thinking we got that fixed. I'm hoping.
All right.
I heard you just a second ago, so I know you're there. You are on the air.
Okay, so you can hear me now.
There you go. I'm hearing you.
All right, okay.
That's better.
Okay, how are you? Welcome to the show. All that stuff. We're starting to talk about your book, and I'm not sure if anything you said came over. So, tell us again.
All right, so you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So, it's polite to be very active for people to find to read it. It's actually a very gentle book. It's a combination of things. Obviously, it's very much exalting various spirits, heroes, some known, some unknown, that were paramount to the Underground Railroad, whether they were the famous conductors, some of the demolitions, the warriors, several white and black. So it's just, I really think that this is something that's been guided by the spirits. I noticed that in a lot of the conversations that I've had, you just don't believe that kind of thing. So it's kind of already, not that I sit there and be able to convince them of otherwise, but there's been any controversy in this tradition of what I've been doing. When I kept referring to tradition, I'm not talking about an actual piece of dogma. It's just literally a tradition of, here's various conjuries, various ways to connect and exalt and educate people at the same time about parts of the Underground Railroad people aren't aware of. And there's a reason for that. The Underground Railroad is a very suppressed entity when it comes to certain things. It's very much controlled by American white agenda, and it's very much controlled also in other things by the Christian faith. So the narratives of the Underground Railroad, as far as we all know, is it was a gentle, everybody was helping everybody, it was Christian, and it was all good.
All right, we still got our audio problems. Let me, dear, sorry about this. I'm not sure which end it's on now. You called me and I called you, so it's it's on both of our ends somehow. But we just got a terrible connection. I've got another idea. If you'll bear with us, I'm gonna contact you. Let's get off of Skype. I'll play a damn other song again, and we'll figure this out. There's another way to do this. I've got it. All right. Bear with us, folks.
A new age of reason, brain treason to trick the mind. What good is searching if nothing's there to find? We arrive at this place of no return, my brothers, only to discover that our minds have led us away so far from the paper truth of who we are. What's right is wrong, what's gone is gone, what's clear and pure is not so sure. All promises become a lie, all that's benign corrupts and died. All our come forth, bear witness. See the prophet from your loss, beg for forgiveness. Only after you tally the cost. We arrive at this place of no return, my sisters, only to discover that our values right off the ground, on the show, in the sea, of what we could be. revelations fade to cold blue untruths. It's all so relative, subservient in total one's perspective. Yeah. What's right is wrong, what's come is gone, what's clear and pure is not so sure. All promises become a lie, all that's been right corrupts in time. Of epiphany, always failing me.
And another bad religion. So, I think we figured out how we can do this. I'm sure the social justice warriors are doing their best to hack us because our guest is so controversial. But there is always low tech. There is always old school, and we have Utu, Witchdoctor, on the air this time. Hello, sir. We probably missed most of what you said the second time, but this time we have it. How are you?
All right. So this time we're going, like you said, low tech. We're using the old technology now.
Absolutely.
We can hear you now. So
Yeah, but it's working. Tin can's a piece of string, man. I don't care.
I knew it. Part of me was like, this is going to be one hacked, jittery show. There's just too much. You know what it is? It's Mercury retrograde. We can just blame it on that, huh?
yeah.
That too, and the social justice
And the
ninjas,
hackers.
I don't believe in that.
the social justice ninjas. So I think you were starting to tell us about your book, and I'm sure they didn't hear that. Third time's charm.
Yeah, well, did you hear the part about it's going to be really anticlimactic by the time people actually read it? So, essentially, it's just a grimoire that's also married to a history book. The magical part is really very simple. It's just me glorifying certain heroes of the Underground Railroad, whether they be white or black. Some of them were famous conductors, warriors, mystics. There's just so many of them, and our whole continent really is connected by the Underground Railroad. And so then inside there I also reveal a lot of unnamed spirits, actual entire spiritual courts of who are all these people that were connected, because the Underground Railroad was so unique in that people vowed, for example, to Harriet Tubman, when they would become free, that they would serve her in this life and the next. And some of these people fought on such a profound level to fight against slavery that they built bonds that lasted into the afterlife. And that's still tangible. And that's a very beautiful and sacred thing, because these are bonds between white and black heroes who came together for the purpose of what the Underground Railroad was. You couldn't have it without either or, So that's what it really is. It's just a book of sort of like explaining some of what it is to approach some of these entities, what they kind of liked in life, and how to set up a very minimal shrine if you want, no matter what tradition.
What the hell just happened? Son of a bitch. There was a bug on my phone. Shit. Thank you, sir. Sorry about that. I bumped something you were saying up till that point.
Yeah, if people want to just basically, no matter what tradition you're in, to just literally have a way to focus on some of these heroes. And the ones that I picked that are very well known already kind of were elevated, so to speak, So, for example, again, when Harriet Tubman passed away, she was buried with semi-military honors. Her grave almost immediately became a place of pilgrimage. From people of all faiths and colors would go there. To this day, for over 100 years, people leave offerings there of money and flowers and trinkets, and she's buried not very far from me, about an hour and a half. And same as John Brown, the insurrectionist John Brown. He was hung, he was martyred. The Black Union soldiers wrote the ballad of John Brown's body for him afterwards. And his place of burial is still where people go and leave offerings and ponder. And so a lot of these heroes, there's plaques named after them, properties, houses, famous historical places. So their spirits are still all sort of being fed by memory and by reverence. So they're already kind of there. So to connect them wasn't very hard to do. It was the ones that are unnamed, the spirits that people don't know what their names are, ones who didn't make it when they were trying to travel to be free, or ones who were actual conductors that were white that passed away, that was their whole life. Sometimes certain families in the North, white families, 3 to 4 generations, they were freedom fighters by hosting runaways in their properties before they could get on to the next place. So this is family traditions for some of these people. And they were all interconnected. So that doesn't seem like a big deal.
I don't see, yeah.
The book was to reveal some historical narratives that have never been published about the Underground Railroad. That's because those narratives are suppressed. They're suppressed specifically from American white academia. And also, in some elements, Christian faith also controls a little bit about what the narrative of the Underground Railroad is in some of these churches that are connected, because, they don't want, neither of these two entities wants to stand up and say, most of these heroes and most of the people traveling on the Underground Railroad were root workers, conjurers, diviners, spiritualists, mystics, or atheists, and nobody wants to put that in a history book, and it's not going to get many history books. So a lot of friends of mine who are actually black historians and black writers, when they found out, a few years ago, and I said, okay, I'm actually going to try to take what I've been doing all these years and actually put it in some pages. They were the first ones to be like, hey, calling me up on the phone from wherever it is. Hey, you still doing that thing? Yeah. Hey, I got something for you. Check this out. And I read it, and they send it to me. They tell me something. And then they're like, holy shit, that's crazy. They're like, yeah, well, that's never going to get published, so put it in there, man. Good luck. It ended up becoming the sort of a thing where certain people that can't even get a historical book published about the Underground Railroad revealing certain truths just use my book as a vehicle. And, of course, they're in the credits, right? So this was like a multi-level sort of thing to sort of bring some truth. So I originally expected to get sort of slaughtered once the book came out by academia. And let's face it, whose little occult grimoire is ever going to get attacked by academia? Well, mine will, because some of the biggest white historians in America know who I am. They've known who I am for a while, and they've been just salivating, waiting for this. And then there's people in the Christian faith who are going to go ape shit when they read some of this, because they're just not going to like what they read, because there's a lot of spell work in there, and they're going to want to read it to see what I'm doing. And so there'll be some African traditional religion people that'll read this, and they're going to be disappointed. They're going to be like, oh, I was expecting a whole lot more, And then I think a lot of other people that are just into various elements of spirituality will be intrigued by it. So I don't really know how everyone's going to respond to it. And so it's kind of hard to be culturally appropriating something I created that is not taking off from anyone else's culture. Nobody's done it before. And I guess if I'm supposed to just sit around and hope in 500 years some person does all this work too, if not, I can't do it, it's retarded. And also, I think I said earlier, before getting cut off, could you imagine if I was to write a book about working with spirits of the Underground Railroad and only made the white ones in the book? Just the white ones.
Yeah. Can't win that battle.
Yeah. The whole argument is asinine, and the argument's been lost. So, this thing has been changing by the day.
Well, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, because a lot of our listeners don't know the argument yet. We've cut to the chase already. So you used the words, hadn't gone there yet, but yes, cultural appropriation is what's been thrown at the man. And there was somebody sent me like a free, it was like a quarter of the book, a sample of the book, and I read it. It was totally a unique practice. I could see, ancient lore that it was based on right away, but nobody's specific practices in there. You did in the portion I read. You mentioned conjure, but in its own light, and there was no connection with conjure. You weren't saying conjure was part of your practice or anything like that. I think that's where you were going with the conjure workers being on the Underground Railroad and that kind of thing. And I know you've even got some ATR training in voodoo, I believe. but I didn't see any of that in the work. So this cultural appropriation thing, I don't know.
I mean, I'm entitled to write of those things. So in the book, there are literally instructions for up to 20 people to do certain rituals to exalt some of these spirits. There's a whole lot of experimentation in there that what my purpose of this is because, and there's actually some elements of how to create things based on conjure in there, and people will recognize it, but it's also so people can recognize that, again, the suppressed history. You see, I also challenge a little bit of the narrative of this kind of hoodoo and conjure fantasy world, I'll call it, that has been purported by predominantly appropriators. And so, this cross-pollination we always hear about, where there was a Native American and a European and an African side of the table and created hoodoo, and so everybody gets to have a piece of the pie. That's bullshit. That didn't happen. All of the elements of hoodoo and conjure was created by the African American. They gleaned what they saw at the times they needed to, and they created the tradition. And so the real cross-pollination in, North American conjure was way up in the north. A lot of this stuff didn't happen in the south. Everybody was leaving the south. Whoever was left in the south were who they were. 100,000 of them fled to the north. And so up here, so I'll just drop one thing here, for example. Spiritualism, as we know it, was born in Western New York, right where I live. Spiritualism was born in farmsteads that were property of radical Quaker mystics who were considered heretics because they were working with the afterlife, communicating with the afterlife. They were the ones who predominantly were hosting freedom seekers in their properties, sometimes for extended amounts of time, because when you got that far up into Western New York, you could rest for a while before you made it into Ontario. And spiritualism was created, actual cross-pollination, at tables between African-American freedom seekers and radical Quaker mystics. Spiritualism eventually became what we know of it now, which is what Spiritism became famous for. And who adopted that? Umbanda, Spiritismo, full circle. It was born here, born on the trails of the Underground Railroad. No one knows that. This is the first time you're going to read that because no one wants to talk about it. So there's certain parts about conjure and hoodoo that has been purported by appropriators for a long time. And it's not true. So I'm just trying to give some truth here about some things, and it all seems to be wrapped around the Underground Railroad. So how profound is that? If spiritualism was born on the trails of the Underground Railroad, to me that's amazing. And so in that part of the book, it's a whole court of white spirits. A whole court of white spirits, spiritualists and mediums. Some of them are black too, though. Because you break down the history of who some of them are and how to work with them and what to do. So it's very benign in a way that people can experiment without much harm, get educated on some of the truths about what hoodoo and root work is. For some, because it's a lot of appropriators have written a lot of bullshit, and when it comes to history, a lot of stuff is suppressed. Nobody wants to know that Harriet Tubman, in history, at least the historical arms, don't want people to know that she was a mystic as much as people know. She was a root worker, a diviner, a conjurer. She was aware of African traditions, African prayers. She was a very mystical and a very intense worker. They don't want to talk about that. They can't, because America doesn't even want to talk about voodoo now in the mainstream, let alone to say that their most sacred Underground Railroad, over-romanticized, beautiful entity was filled with root work and conjure and sacrifice. They will never say that. So some historians even said, good luck, buddy. Get on there and do it. And I'm talking about black historians. We're like, go cause shit. One famous black historian read my book when it came out for people to vet. And that person called me on the phone one night and was laughing so hard. And I was actually starting to get insulted. I'm like, yo, what's so funny? What's so funny? This person just laughed and laughed. And I'm like, okay, I'm reading your book, and would laugh some more. And I'm thinking, man, this is worse than I thought it was, I guess, huh? And then they said, do you know how many white historians are going to shit their pants when they read this? They're like, oh my God, man, this is the craziest shit I've ever read. And then I was like, okay, cool, but what about the historical part? Gave me a couple of dates I had wrong and said, get on it, good luck, right? So, the idea of appropriation is asinine. Whoever leveled it came at it from a lack of knowledge, and whoever tried to make it stick was getting desperate. And I'm just going to say this right here, right now. I've been exposed to a lot of African and traditional religious workers, Some of them don't like me. They've never challenged this on me. They've known. Everyone knows who I am. They know what I'm doing. And they know that nothing I'm doing is appropriating anything. I'm actually revealing something. And my intention, all throughout this book, is say, here's what I did. Here's what I've been doing for 15 or 20 years or whatever. Now you can take it and do whatever you want. You know? I'm just handing it off. Now, there's going to be a second book to it, but still, after these 2 books come out, if in 5 or 6 years after that, somebody else isn't trying to take what I did and make it better, I'll be very disappointed. I want this to be something that will become, in the mainstream talk of what root work and conjure is, it'll bring people together a little bit and educate some people about what the Underground Railroad actually was. And, you know, there was a lot of, man, it's a big part of our traditions, you know, of magic, all kinds of it. It fueled it. It made it happen. All the abolitionists were spiritualists and mystics and mesmerists, you know, like this was a very mystical entity. And even the ones that were Christian, they were overlapping. Catholics were helping Christians, helping Episcopalians. Like, this was a very progressive, interconnected thing, and spirituality and working with spirits, be blessed by God. There was prophets amongst them. There was ones who thought, like Harriet Tubman and John Brown, that they were chosen by God, not only to fight, but to fight together. And so they met together. They hung out together right here in my town for a little while, you know. These people all knew each other, and they all knew the plans they were doing, from revolution to insurrection to all the smuggling of people from one country to the next, you know. So how that is controversial to write that and shed light for people that have never known that before, I don't know. But I know one thing. This was orchestrated, and I'm going to start saying some shit right now. The only reason this became a controversy is because of the part of the country I was coming to. If I'm coming up to that part of the country, who am I threatening? What is my narrative? And what am I representing? Who do I threaten to be coming into that part of the country with a message of unity, truth about hoodoo and conjure? I don't know. But
You mean like the Bay Area?
Hey?
You talking about the Bay Area?
Northern California,
Okay, yeah.
in general. I'm a threat, and they didn't want me there. And so they tried to discredit me. And we know, this is something I know. This is something that's been multiple phone calls throughout all this. That's why I didn't, you know, I defended myself best I could for a few days just to make sure.
Okay, so let's slow down just a little bit. We need to get it all in there. So what Witchdoctor Utu's referring to, it is in the liner notes of the show, but he got deplatformed, a word that we're going to learn about, because I just learned of the word, and I saw it applied to a couple different people in a couple different places. I guess over the last year, people have been being deplatformed, which means you were signed up for an event, Pantheacon. You had a book signing scheduled to go on there, a lot of press and everything, and they took the invite back.
Yeah,
Disinvited. That's another word too. Disinvited and deplatformed. So they deplatformed him.
But then they decided that he couldn't even vent.
Yeah, couldn't he was going to be a vendor there. All these things, take planning, take time, take money. Your year was set up, or what is that? When's President's Day? It's not that long. February, yeah. It's just a few months away. And they pull the rug out from under him. He's got this book signing and everything. So you got deplatformed. Did they actually say the words cultural appropriation? All I heard that you were dangerous.
So how this all went down was, you're right, I got accepted through the gauntlet. There's about 3 stages. And all these people that do know a little bit about how magic works and stuff all looked at this. They all vetted it. They all looked at it. They read my bio. It's, it is what it is. I come in from Weiser. They knew it was a book release. And so they know who I am. They knew who I was. So then they published it. The way it goes is they put out the program for the people that only are presenters to see for a couple of days, and everyone's like, yeah, okay, cool. And then, everyone starts emailing each other, and then it goes public. And then for a couple of days it was public. And then when they removed me, and I'm not trying to, I don't want to start, busting up old wounds and stuff, because there kind of was a bit of an awkward truce has been met today. Doesn't mean I'm not going to still go after the agent provocateurs that were actually behind all this, but the Glenn Turner of Pantheacon did respond, because I got tagged today by Orion Foxwood, who I love. He's a great man. He's a good friend of mine. And he was aware of all of this, and a lot of people were trying to champion my cause because they were like, this is just ridiculous. This is not cultural appropriation. And, you know, this, and I mean, people of color were contacting them and saying, come on now, this is bullshit. What's going on? And so he wrote a big impassioned plea about, could me and Pantheacon come to some agreement. It was all very poetic. You know, it was very poetic. And, and very filled with sacred words like Orion is known for. And I answered with a whole lot of, we're burning Jerusalem to the ground. I literally, like Salahuddin style. That's my inspiration in the Holy War, Salahuddin. And I'm like, nah, man, we're taking this down, and this fight is, a lot of my friends and I were invested for the long haul. A lot of scorched earth coming up. And then I said the only way this is going to be solved is if Glenn, I hear you're a good person. You want to, say that you're going to deal something about this. You're going to make sure these transgressions are never going to happen again because you've been doing this to people for years and blah, blah, blah. You have to accountability. And then 2 minutes later, she commented, and I literally said in this post, I'm actually embarrassed about it at this point, that if, you do all this, you agree to do that, I'll come into your store in California, I'll kneel before you, kiss your hand in gratitude. I swear to the gods. I said, if you're going to do that, which I thought was an impossibility, well, she came on and did it.
Oh, no.
Enough for everyone to be like, okay, let's just hold back let's hold back the horde that is about to come in and literally burn Jerusalem down. Let's just hold back a bit. And so that's how it is now. But what happened was, yes, one of the staff members, Jamie Morgan, was the first person that started to publish around all these groups that I was a cultural appropriator and a bevy of other insults.
Wait, what, say the name again. I want to make sure we have it.
Jamie Morgan was the staff member.
Jamie Morgan.
Yeah, and she's done this before, shared people's personal information and just discredit a person if they want to get them out of the conference. The conference is famous for that, right? Someone gets deplatformed because a bunch of social justice people don't want them there, then that's not bad enough. They discredit them, and they start to try to tear them down. And the only difference is everyone they've done it to thus far has been a woman, and this time they just did it with me. And thankfully, a lot of people just said, enough's enough, and a lot of people stood up with me and said, no, if they want to play dirty, they might as well have a cleanse, right? Let's just cleanse this place and let's just burn it down and see how it goes. So, full vindication. At the end of the day, I do get to keep being dangerous. I do get to keep the fact that my book was banned. That's marketing gold.
Absolutely.
I'll never, ever have to, worry about it. It's good to go. And it's all good. So,
got a lot of press out of it, yeah.
As a cultural appropriator, it was done, and it was over, and, now it's just about cleaning up the mess. And going after the people that actually did cause this problem in the first place.
So this person have a personal beef with you that you knew about prior to this?
Well, several people. I'm not going to name names right now, but a lot of people know pretty sure who is behind all this, and it's a few folks. And that's all I can say is that a few folks decided to rile this up a little bit, and it didn't go too well. And I think, I'm very happy that it happened, to be quite honest. And again, I truly mean that if people want to have an actual conversation about white people in these traditions, I'm happy to have it. All it's going to do is keep bringing attention to what I want to get exposed in the first place. So this is a big blessing for me, a tremendous blessing. And I couldn't have asked for it, and it was predicted. So I just didn't know it was going to come like it so early. So it's gotten me ready for what I expected to come from academia and Christians and various other people that are going to be very upset with what I've written. I didn't expect it from a faction of the neo-pagan community of all freaking places, right? I mean, I've shared this stuff with some hardcore people in African traditional religions that I was wondering what they'd say about it, and they've all said, nah, it's pretty cool. It's not getting in the way. It's your own thing. And hey, and I like knowing that. That's cool. Go for it. So I've never met any resistance. And some of those folks, don't even like me, and they just leave me alone because they know I'm not doing anything wrong, right? And so
we get that in Palo too. People will tell us, you can't be in these traditions because you're white, and I'm going, are you in Kisi? Because Kisi said it was okay, and I was like, and I'm sure in your traditions, and definitely I know in Voodoo, there's like a large portion of whether or not you can travel down a certain path is not decided by people, it's decided by spirits. And what are you going to do? Argue with them? Like we don't get to argue with them in Palo.
And I understand what you're saying, and I agree. But I'm not going to tell somebody if they firmly believe that I shouldn't be in their traditions, which I've never experienced. A couple of times a long time ago, there's a couple of people, but I don't question that. I don't have entitlement. I don't believe that people have to accept me. I've had to earn a gauntlet pretty hard. I've been through some stuff where I was put through some hard gauntlets by some hard motherfuckers. Let me just say that. And this is another example. I know a lot of people that support me and 100% didn't show up and defend me in public. They just sat back and said, let's see what this guy does. Like, holy shit, this is a global attack. And let's just see what happens. So I think it's been evidence to a lot of people that, I'm protected. This work is sacred. And if anybody wants to come and try to stop me or take it, go for it. It's not going to work out too well. And I think we just saw how that goes down. And, and I stand by my work. I stand by the fact that I'm giving the information away. My intention is to give this to anybody who wants it and to take it and make it better. All I'm doing is giving a basis, a starting point, and some suggestions on how to do this, how to look at some of these spirits, to think about this as a North American tradition. So, Palo, well, it's Cuban, right?
Yeah.
Vodou from Haiti, that's Haitian. Yeah. Umbanda, that's from Brazil. So the Underground Railroad provides us something that is about North America, and it connects two countries, and it connects white and black. And the spirit world isn't based upon oppression. It is based upon oppression, but it gives you some place to work with that is about fraternity and people helping each other out. And so that already gives you something that's positive and beautiful. So it's a good place to be, even though you can't forget what this is all about. And again, I talk a lot about that. I talk a lot about High John the Conqueror and how deplorable it is that you can go into a botanica and see a white man on the label and it says High John the Conqueror. How disgusting. High John, the Prince of Conjure, the African prince, is being depicted as a white man on candles and oils. So I
never even see anybody do that. I think actually I saw an Indio product one time. It was it was a white guy with a crown. Yep. I did see it once. I think I know what you're talking about.
The Conquistador, yeah, and I've had it explained to me. I've said, what the hell is that doing like that? Oh, it's because he's a conqueror. Conquistador. I'm like, yeah, but why is he white? Color him in. Then maybe, then at least maybe he'd look like, a Rasta or something, but come on. You can't have a white man on the label of one of the most profound and sacred things. So what I'm just trying to do, use a little bit of privilege I got. Some people wanted some information out there they could never get in a history book. I said, let's put it in there. And in order for me to show the realities of what working with these spirits can do and how much they can actually change a human being, and again, this has been something that's been going on for years. Case studies of hundreds of people out there have already been doing this for quite a long time. So it's not like I just figured out a formula. This, it's been happening for years. It's only the last 3 years where I said, okay, I'm going to really try to write this down now, and that's because, Weiser came to me. Said, have you ever thought about writing about this stuff you've been running around traveling doing? And I said, as a matter of fact, I have been kind of thinking about that. And so then that was a bit of a process. Sorry, and I couldn't fit it in one book, so it's 2 books. So the first one everyone's going to read, I think they're going to be let down because it's kind of introductory a lot, and I think they're going to be like, really? This is all the hype? And then when the second one comes out, it's going to be a bit more intricate as far as some other things. I have to save some of the good stuff for part 2. And then after that, it's everybody's. It's for everybody to take. I explain all the way through certain points, this comes from this tradition. I have permission to use this, or this is all original. No one can tell you cannot do this. Or, why don't you try this? Or why don't you just make something up here? I'm giving you a framework. You probably will be able to come up with an idea. Go for it. I've given you what you need. Have fun. Go at it. Try to help exalt these spirits. Let's bring, especially for root workers, witches, anyone in African traditional religion, why can't we exalt the Underground Railroad? Because it was filled with those practices. It was filled with witchcraft, root work, and voodoo. We should be owning that. That should be our story. White and black, North America. Claim it. And take it away from white academia and Christianity. Just take it.
Another problem that I saw with all this, and somebody just mentioned something like that in the chat room. I think one of your big problems here is that you're talking about something that other people don't know about, and some people are very threatened by that. Like if they can't wax like a know-it-all on Facebook, and that could go the high priestess muckety muck of the third ray, and talk down your practice. They're very upset because that's like the only power they have in their lives. It's like you're coming along with something totally alien that nobody's done. There's a reason why there's 30 billion intro books out there. People just writing different versions of the same crap over and over again in all traditions, over and over again forever. And you've come along with something that they don't know how to talk shit about it yet. So they're going, wait, it looks like black stuff. He's got white skin. Cultural appropriation.
And I don't mind that. And I put a video out a few nights ago, and I meant what I said when I said that if for some reason all people of color that represent the clergy of all African traditional religions all got together in one location, first, I'd be very impressed by that. Second, I'd be interested to see who got knocked out of the color scheme of who gets to be in that meeting. That would be interesting too. But if it was deemed that there's no more white people, I would not complain about that. I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
I did what I was supposed to do. This has been a very sacred journey for me, and I've been empowered by ancestors. Again, the next most important part is descendants of freedom seekers. Some of them very famous families, very famous historical figures enabled this for me. They gave me their own photos that have never been seen. Oral traditions and stories that are in this book have never been published before, because they're oral traditions about the Underground Railroad that are only kept within certain families and certain churches that have never been published. Who's going to publish that? It's not going to be academic. They ain't going near that. So I took advantage of that opportunity.
Let me ask you a question. Well, questions coming to mind here. This, you know who started this whole thing. They happen to be, I don't know, white?
Well, yeah, but I think they have a few black folks around them too. I mean, I don't know how to say it, but, of course.
Well, you've tracked down to the person that started this. I was wondering if that person... A few people. Okay. Because I did my research on all this stuff once it was going on. All over Facebook, all over social media, tracking down any mentions of these things. Yeah, that's the one thing I noted right away. I was like, white face. A couple people didn't have a profile picture. I had to go poke around on their Facebook a little bit to see, And sure enough, everybody that I saw accusing Witchdoctor Utu of cultural appropriation was white. Yeah, I'm just going to let that hang.
Well, in truth, there was one woman who wanted to present at Pantheacon, who was turned down, evidently. I don't know much about her. She definitely had a problem with what I was doing. She's not a member of the African traditional religions, but she definitely didn't like it. And so that was the irresponsible part to me, that if there was because I let this slide for about a week. All of the horrible things were being said about me, and then when people started to come in and say, hey, you know who his teachers are? Then they would discredit my teachers of color. They're just tokens. Like some of the stuff I read, they called me a homophobe. Like just the craziest stuff of assassination I've ever seen. And so, it didn't faze me, because I know this is gonna backfire. This is all good. But one woman did have a problem, and so when this was getting really ramped up, I actually touched base with her on Facebook. I sent her a message, and I said, hey, look, I've read a couple of things of what you've written about me. I didn't want to read much more than that. I said, but I just want to make sure, I feel terrible that people are saying, because people were engaging her back. A lot of insults were going. And she didn't respond too well to my touching base. At first, I thought we were going to maybe have a dialogue, because I realized this community has let this girl down more so than me. I know I'm going to be okay. But, maybe this is an opportunity for a bridge to be built, potentially, right? Because we're in the same community. So I tried to reach out to this girl, thought we had something that we could maybe form dialogue. Didn't happen. Whatever, there's nothing I can do about that, So there was one person for sure involved in this that was a person of color, so I want to keep that honest. But the ones that were screaming and yelling and trying to really fan this were all white, indeed, and all part of the SJW crew of Pantheacon, and not, so it's kind of ridiculous in that regard.
Yeah, and God, I don't know. These people coming together for spirituality. There's a lot of Wiccans at Pantheacon, and all these people in these very fluffy, lovey traditions. We lately have these vicious factions that would just descend on you like a pack of wolves. Anything that you might cross a line if you're not social justice enough, or if you offend some trigger point. Like you were just saying there, they call you a homophobe. Okay, so first they do the cultural appropriation. That's a huge button. Push that button, a lot of fucking lights go on. And And then, racist always follows up, after cultural appropriation, and then, especially in that area, this side of the country, throw homophobe in there. Good thing they didn't call you a TERF. You've been rude.
That would have been the most gentle thing. I don't have to dignify most of those responses. I did a little. I mean, I'm in the pagan community. My only circle of friends are pagans. I've done very well in the last 20 years to just not have to expose myself to the world out there. I'm very fortunate that I can make that choice in life. So, an overwhelming.
Well, I have too, but
my entire circle of friends are either gay, lesbian, or trans, or people of color. Those are the people in my life. Some of them are my closest friends. Nurture me, take care of me when I'm hurting, or I take care of them. So that's ridiculous. If people knew, what my personal life is all about, I wouldn't be calling me a racist. And so I wouldn't dignify most of these things with an answer. I just wouldn't go there.
Yeah.
But
well, we definitely me too. All of my friends, pagans, magical users for forever. I can't really remember people that weren't. But some of them are assholes, or some of them are friends of assholes. It's not always so pretty, but still, never. All the witch warring, backbiting bullshit that goes on in the different communities. These factions of late, these SJWs, an acronym I didn't even know just like a week ago, and I asked my wife, and it was so stupid she wouldn't answer me, so I Googled it, and I figured out what it was. You wouldn't answer me what an SJW. I go, do you know what an SJW is? I'm going, no. You just looked at me, you wouldn't tell me, so I Googled it, found out what it was. But these social justice warriors, especially like around Pantheacon, the witch ones, the pagan ones, are just vicious. I can't imagine what their spirituality must be like. It must be a very angry, sad thing.
See, our pagan and, because the last 20 years, from what I can observe, because I've been active in it in 2 countries, is there's been a very awkward, but well done, I would say, at least from Mississippi east. I can only speak from the Mississippi east and in Canada, where people have done really well in isolating who are the idiots that are doing African traditional religions that aren't supposed to be doing that. I'm the best person to point that out. I've done it to a lot of festivals to say, that person is a liar. That person does not belong to these traditions. That's bullshit, and you can't have that person here. I say that to them very quietly and just say, I don't think it's a good idea, and that's usually also because someone of color comes up and says, hey, that guy's full of shit, and they're not listening to me, so can you fucking say something? And I walk in and go, hey, yo, you need to listen to me right now, okay? I'm speaking truth here. That person is a liar. That person is not Ifa anything. I looked him up. I know who this person is. He was Wiccan 3 years ago. There's no way he is what he's saying right now. It's not true. So on and so forth. But our communities have been infiltrated by people that don't have magic. So as much as
you went there.
Together, we're all trying. Huh?
You went there. Woo-hoo.
Yeah. So we have a community of magic, and the pagan community. From this inception, I'm a bit of a historian. I respect people like that created this community, like Oberon Zell and all of the other names that helped build this. They were always progressive, always inclusive of black, poor, gay, trans. Like our communities have been on the cutting edge and been the most progressive and inclusive there ever was. We have one of the most beautiful subcultures there ever is. But what's happened is people that have no magic have come into our communities and are just trying to rile up shit because they're weak and they think that we're all gentle. And I think we've all been too gentle for too long. These people have no magic. They're just looking for trouble. They want to just, look for a cause. They're literally squeegee kids and dumpster divers and couch surfing communists that want to have some noise and have a voice in what's going on in a community full of mystics. Magic is not politically correct. Never has been. Occult is dangerous. And if it's done responsibly, we should all be able to experience that. Some things are going to be uncomfortable, and that's just the way it goes. So we have a problem that we have people that are not have any magic are in our traditions and trying to cause discourse where there shouldn't be. We should be united, and of course we have a lot of complicated conversations to have, and I don't mind. Again, friends of mine. There's some people that are black that are friends of mine that are clergy that have not emailed me yet or called me through this whole thing. And I don't care. But what I know this is doing to them is it's forcing them to now have to reevaluate because now it's out in the open. Maybe they've had certain feelings about certain things. I don't mind being that that lamb, if that's what I have to be. You know, if people have to start analyzing complicated feelings and conversations, well, here I am. I don't mind it. It's not going to make me weak. I don't feel entitled. I'm not going to cry away tears. It doesn't matter to me. I just want the work that I've been doing all these years to get out there. And if people of color said, we're taking it, go for it. It's yours. I made it for you. I made it for you. I made it for everybody. You know, go ahead. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that complicated. So I don't understand what the controversy is. In my inbox right now is a blog that's coming out. It's written by a woman of color who backed it up with another one who is another woman of color who's a PhD and a Mambo, and another one who is an Indonesian, a Babala, who have all come in and said, these people are the racists. You understand? They don't speak. See, this is the thing. I feel like when I said, okay, I came out of this okay. I'm the world's most dangerous witch doctor. I've got a book that got banned. I'm good to go. But now I want to fight for your tradition and every one of our other African traditional religions. Who are these people to say what we can or cannot do? They don't even know anything about these traditions. They don't know anything. They don't understand what it's about. And they're going to police us and tell us what rituals can be performed, what traditions can be formed? No way, man. That's a fight worth fighting. And I'll take that flag. I'll take this army and whatever privilege I got to go and fight that. And it has to be. I'm not going to allow it. And so that's why people are really standing up. By Pantheacon, the irony here is, by Pantheacon telling me I can't practice that because I'm white is de facto racist. You know, I'm not going to go there, but it's actually a fact. I've had legal people call me and show all of this, like to literally make this a big case. There's a lot of big, it's kind of fucked up. There is potential litigation on the table. I haven't decided yet. But for defamation, it's easy. It's easy. And, you know, get publicity. What would be more publicity than that, you know? I mean, but I don't really need to go there. That's why today I decided to just back it off a little bit. Once there was a potential to sort of tone it down, all right, go ahead and have these conversations, because I'm aware of the amount of elders and other people that have stepped in and said, this has to stop. It's all coming from one location. So now it's just about isolating them and getting them out of it. And that's all there is to it. It's really that simple. And we can all go back to actually experimenting with magic and unity and real social justice. You know, the fact that they're giving that a bad name, that's actually a terrible thing.
Well, there's just so many mutual friends and people that I know that, you know, frequent Pantheacon. It just, you know, immediately jumped on the bandwagon, and then some of the other deplatformings has happened this week too. It's like people just are. I don't understand you people, and maybe you're right. Maybe it's the people that don't have magic, but I was always taught, you know, magically, before launching an attack, you've got to be really sure. And I take that into my mundane life. Before launching an attack on anybody, I want to be sure they did the thing. I want to be sure they're evil for doing the thing. If there was somebody that I knew, you know, I'd at least feel the need to contact them and say, hey, did you do the thing? You know, before just launching an all-out attack and blocking on Facebook. It's just some of the shit that people immediately just knee-jerk do to, you know, even people they know. It's just, I don't know.
Well, think about it. Since they like their panels so much, what an opportunity was lost, which again, okay, I have been, invited to talk into a couple of churches, a couple of spiritual traditions, all black. And I guarantee you, when I walked into some of those rooms, that I can see the eyes. I see them looking at me. And there's a few people that are like, you know, what the fuck is going on here? And it doesn't take me more than 5 minutes to just introduce myself, diffuse the whole situation, and people go, oh, okay. Oh, I get it. All right. No big deal. Doesn't mean someone's coming up after and saying, oh, I love you, white guy, thank you. No, they might still be like, I just don't want to look that way that guy looks. But at least they know I'm being honest, and I'm not an asshole, and I'm not appropriating nothing, or I'm not, I'm giving information. That's all I'm doing. And what they had the opportunity to lose there was, well, let's have a conversation about it. What better place than Pantheacon to have the ultimate cultural appropriation conversation? I'd have been happy to sit there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mind, because I'm not upset by this. And I want everyone to know that, whoever's listening to this. I wasn't complaining and I wasn't upset. I was just defending myself and saying, okay, it's time to, make this go public. It will not matter to me. I will not be affected. Other people will be, not me. I've done my mission that I needed to do, and I'm good to go. But I'm happy to have that conversation. I don't mind it. And if I need to be the focal point of white people being in these traditions, I'm not upset in any way. I'll walk into any hostile room. I've done it many times. And I'm not upset about it. So,
all right.
That opportunity to have that conversation and solve that problem.
All
And
right,
so yeah.
let's take us a quick break. And you just stay there. You'll hear everything that's going on. So, we'll probably try not to be too nasty in the background. We'll be right back.
Cobweb stare, the
Elegua, Francisco Aquabella. Francisco Aquabella. And I am not an Orisha practitioner, but we've got Lucero.
Yeah.
Pretty damn similar. I don't have a good Lucero song though. I got to get one on here. I think I have it on the phone instead. But hey,
Yeah, there's a good Lucero one.
yeah, there is. Utu. You are still there. Yes.
Yes.
You know where this kind of stuff is not going to happen? Joshua, turn down that volume. Come on, lightsabers on the show, man. You know where this kind of thing's not going to happen?
Hexfest?
Exactly, Hexfest. Join in the magic. Tales of the magic of the Crescent City of New Orleans stretch back over the centuries. It's an enigmatic place where voodoo, hoodoo, witchcraft, and even Christianity blend at the crossroads of spiritual power. On August 9th to the 11th, 2019, Brian Kane, Christian Day, and the Witches of New Orleans present Hexfest, a weekend of witchery held in the heart of the historic French Quarter. The conference opens with a riverboat ritual and dinner held on an authentic steamboat on the Mississippi River, followed by 2 full days of workshops, drumming, and ritual at the Bourbon's Orleans Hotel, a venue riddled with a history of hauntings. Hexfest has gathered witches, root workers, voodoo priests, and other magical teachers from within New Orleans and around the world to offer their time-honored wisdom. Between workshops, attendees will love the magical shopping in our on-site vending hall, where you can purchase powerful ritual tools, signed books, exquisite jewelry, and spellcrafts, handmade by true practitioners. Oh, this list. I'm so used to looking at this list on my phone. It looks shorter all of a sudden. Presenters for 2019 hail from across the spectrum of witchcraft and magic. Our presenters include Brian Kane, Christian Day, Dorothy Morrison, Sarita Dieste, Fiona Horn, Lady Rhea, Sally Ann Glassman, Hudo Sen Moyes, Austin Shipley, Star Cassis, Rosemary Ellen Gilly, Byron Ballard, Christine Steffens, the Dragon Ritual Drummers, Cariel Crow, Laura Tempest Zakharoff, Mary Grace Faroon, Michael Carell, Melissa Mayhem, Patricia Telesco, Star Ravenhawk, Witchdoctor Utu, and Yeshe Matthews. And Witchdoctor Utu's in Dragon Ritual Drummers, which is all over that shit. And then he's doing his thing. I don't know. You're doing a 3-day workshop kind of thing?
No, I just the band play a lot. We play on the boat in the opening ceremonies. We do the courtyard ritual, and then on Saturday night, which is really fun. And then I do a workshop on Conjuration of Harriet, Mama Moses Tubman, and the Spirits of the Underground Railroad. Like I do at almost every event I go to.
Got to check that out. You got to go to hexfest.com and get tickets.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to sort of go a different direction. But yeah, you can't really compare any other conferences to Hexfest because it's ultimately unique in every capacity.
Yeah, we're really
Riverboat
excited.
ritual alone, the opening on the riverboat is so spectacular and it's so profound that we are on the sacred river, the Mississippi, the life force of that city, the Crescent City. That's incredible. And does everyone get along there? No. There was a very famous, or maybe infamous at this point, debate that erupted into quite a debate on the panels last year. So everybody doesn't get along, everybody doesn't agree, but you have that discussion on a panel, or you present your case in your class and you let the people decide, and you let your colleagues and your contemporaries decide. So Hexfest is unique, and you're going to love it, and it's pretty awesome. So if you don't mind, I would just like to say that, I think sometimes we're hard in this conversation. I know I've been yelling and getting all riled up too about sort of my beliefs on some of these pagan communities, but there's a lot of good ones. And amongst all this controversy, which was pretty good, it was pretty big, let's face it, and a lot of people were definitely debating a lot of things in their minds, like, should we have this anymore? So I want to say right here, right now, that thank goodness, and my book release party will now be 1 week after Pantheacon at Convocation in Detroit. So the people of Convocation in Detroit, which is an amazing conference, about 900 to 1,000 people go to that, right in the Motown. And it's a big DoubleTree. Everybody's in the same hotel. They have a big ball on the Saturday night where everybody in the place can be at the same place at one time. So it's very unifying. And the Detroit/Michigan pagan community are all colors, all traditions. Their program, when you look at their programs, during the days you have your lectures and stuff. At nights in some of these rooms, some of the rituals people get to do are freaking crazy. I've been to a couple where I was like, what is going on here? This guy doing a big giant Baphomet ritual and getting channeled, and they allow for some incredible things. So Convocation in Detroit, 1 week after Pantheacon, called me up on the phone on the weekend and said, on behalf of our entire community, Utu, we want you to come here, and we want it to be known that Convocation stands for everything that you are doing, and we are not exclusive. We are inclusive, and people were asking us to make sure to make that message. So that's a profound, beautiful thing. So Detroit at the Convocation is where I'll be having the book release party. I'll be right in the lobby, and it makes more sense because, to be honest, now full transparency, I didn't want to go to Pantheacon. I've heard enough to know that I would never want to go there. It wasn't my idea to go there because in my mind I was like, well, I'd rather do it at Convocation because Detroit is the sister city to where I live, the other gateway to freedom. Underground Railroad icon is Detroit. It was another crossing point across the Detroit River into Windsor, and the only dual international connected statuary for the Underground Railroad exists in Detroit. One of them is they're beautiful life-size people on the river. It depicts abolitionists and freedom seekers looking across the river and pointing. On the other side, when you cross the bridge into Canada, it's a big, giant, beautiful statuary called the Gateway to Freedom that has people with their hands raised that they're free. So it's going to be a Motown.
But San Jose!
San Jose is such a beautiful, flat piece of nothingness. It's so pretty.
Convocation. So if anyone was debating, well, I want to go somewhere, come on up to Detroit, come and check out what they do in the winter. It's freaking awesome there. Weather's not that bad, to be honest. Detroit's kind of far south. It is for me, so at least I'm still going south.
So you never presented at Pantheacon before?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, because I heard enough. I've never been out there, and it wasn't my idea to go this year. I was kind of talked into it, and it's like, okay, sure. So that's the irony, but I don't mind. Because
we used to live like a 20-minute drive away. We used to live about 20 minutes. Yeah.
Right? I'm in a position of blessed power here.
Yes.
And I'm eternally grateful that this whole controversy transpired, so people could see how I defend myself, defend this legacy, defend the spirits that are in there. A lot of people will have to wait till the book comes out, I guess, and read it and go, "What the hell is the controversy in the first place?" So, but it doesn't matter to me. Every time I write a book, it's in my narrative. Hey, one of my books got banned. That's just that. Not too many authors get that. So my first one banned, at least somewhere. Hey, that's not bad. So come to Convocation. It's an amazing conference. I love it there, and it's an Underground Railroad icon. And Motown has a whole lot of history of magic, hoodoo, and witchcraft, and their whole community in Michigan are freaking awesome. And the fact that at this moment, in this contentious time when this was all happening, when everyone was being forced into their own corners and forced into their own segregation, they stood up and said, you get your ass over here for that book release party. We want to put our stamp on it. We support unity. We support the message, and we want you here. And so Convocation all the way. I love them for it.
I think that's way more appropriate.
This particular event, it's been alliance forming. I've seen some people come together that weren't exactly together before, all over not letting people do this to Utu. And the first I even heard of deplatforming was when it happened to you. And now it's a word that exists.
I know, right?
I bet they won't do it next year.
Yeah.
We'll see. And again, I want to emphasize that we're kind of at a truce to a degree. And that's because a lot of people were getting really upset. I'm being honest with you guys. Mm-hmm. It would have benefited me more to just ramp this up. And when I went over to that thread today, I purposely went there to throw gasoline on the fire. And I want also everyone to know that everyone that was defending me and causing a lot of trouble in various threads, no one was being overreactionary. All orchestrated. We were planned in this for the long haul. This would have been great for a lot of people. There was a lot of intellectual conversations on my side happening, and then a lot of, petty going on. I kind of enjoyed being in the petty, to be honest. I'd read the intellectual and be like, well, I'm not really going to say anything. I'm reading it. That's incredible. I'm going to go down here and talk shit because I don't get to do that too often. I've always led a very quiet life online, stayed out of trouble. Once trouble came in my front yard, hey, man, I'm all in now. So it would have benefited me to drag this out for a very long time. It would have been awesome, actually. But a lot of people were getting really upset about it. So,
I will have to throw in there. It says you did your peacemaker thing, and it was very nice and all, but there's Wittershins, and I'm gonna have to say, saying that you'll do a better job next time. You'll try not to do this shit. I mean, when you just did this shit, and the shit, it isn't even February yet. Me personally, I would have been holding out for a lot more, but you're bigger man than I am right there.
And you're not the only one that has said that. And so my opinion in the matter is that I said we're going to give Peace in the Valley a chance. They're already locked into everything the way things operate this year. I have it on good accord, okay? Because a lot of people know some of these folks that have been calling me personally. So I have it on good accord that this year is going to be whatever it is. And by next year, there's going to be a lot of change. So I think a lot of people that are used to having a lot of voice and a lot of power and to yell and scream, they're not going to have that anymore. So I got to give them a chance to deal with it. And again, I could have dragged this out, man, and it would have been great for me. But, I've got to think about other people at a certain point. And so, I'm happy to walk away with my goat, with my trophy, and I'm good. I'm happy. And everybody else now needs to have some complicated conversations, then go for it. Have them. And if anybody wants me to be part of these complicated conversations, no problem. Every time I do a lecture or a presentation for the spirits of the Underground Railroad, I have this whole introduction about the history of this continent and why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I think that some of these spirits are so glorious. They should be saints. They should be saints. And if my, exalting Mama Moses, because she is a holy light of inspiration, makes me an appropriator, I don't know what that means. That doesn't make sense to me. So we'll see. Maybe that is, but I don't think so. And a lot of people that have more say in that matter agree with me. So.
Well, I saw one woman online. She had this long, detailed thing before I'd even read the work. Actually, she may have been the one that posted the sample piece or something. Somebody on that thread. But she was saying it was the Underground Railroad was black people's history, and you had no right to tell it because of your skin color. It's like, I am pretty sure I learned Harriet Tubman in school. And I think it was probably the more racist part of Southern California. I was probably still in Orange County at that time. As such, I'm pretty sure a white woman taught me that. It's history. Anybody gets to talk about history. It's not a folk tale or anything. This is history. It's in the history books. If the History Channel actually had any history on it except for Ancient Aliens, you'd see it there. We get to talk about history. We need to talk about history. We don't talk about history. We forget our history, and then we fuck up and we repeat our fucking history. So, I'm a serious history buff, so I really had a problem with that little analogy.
And you know what? I don't even know if that person was white or black, but if either or,
she's white.
That's that person's truth. Oh, if it's a white person, she go fuck herself. But if it was a person of color, I'm not entitled. I don't say to somebody, you're gonna have to deal with me. My only thing is I like someone to read it or listen to what I have to say because they've got the wrong idea. But I don't feel like I'm entitled and you better listen to what I say and you better deal with me here. That's never been my approach. I chose specifically not to be that white guy many years ago, and I could be that guy that goes and teaches and talks about Ifa. I could be that guy. I've been encouraged to do it. I've been encouraged and said, I want you to do this for Yoruba culture. You need to spread that message. And I was like, yeah, but this is obviously, that's what you want me to do, but you already told me that this message is what I need to spread, and I'm not going to be that white guy. I'm not going to be that one. So I chose a long time ago not to do that, and to specifically do something that I would not be that guy. Because sometimes I go to these events, I'm not going to lie, and I'll see dude, and be like, wow, and I always say to myself, thank God that wasn't me. I'm so glad I didn't do that, because he looks like an idiot. And he's not really saying the right message. He's not really saying the right message. And I'm the worst judge. I'm the worst judge when it comes to white people in these traditions, because I know, And when someone shows up and says, I want to be a root worker, always is the answer. Why? Why do you want to do it? Do you think it's something more powerful? It's not, right? Root work and conjure is no more powerful than witchcraft. It's just a different formula that has a different history and a different meaning. So you better know the meaning before you're going to go in there. Yeah.
When people can't claim that their little piece of the pie is better than your piece of the pie, man, some people get all pissed off. I want the whole pie. I want a fucking piece. pie to the face.
Yeah. But again, that's the thing. I don't, and if any person of color, they have every right. Listen, again, I'm Canadian, so, and I'm not even from this country. So, if somebody has a problem with me, I don't go, I don't never in my mind ever, because I learned that. You want to know what? And I've learned that from women of color who taught me that in these traditions, And one of my really good allies like from the very beginning has been Lilith Dorsey. So Lilith Dorsey is connected to the New Orleans Voodoo Spiritual Temple with me. She has her own lineage as well, and she's got a degree. She's an anthropologist, an educator, and she's a black woman. And there was times when I was young and stupid, so to speak, believe it or not, and I learned a little bit about what's the parameters from her, because we've known each other for so long. And in fact, when I officially had already been doing this work in St. Catharines for a while, and then I officially took this big house right on the corner of where it ended and said, okay, we are birthing this tonight. Just so happened Lilith Dorsey was there that night with another friend of hers, a woman of color from Brooklyn. They were in town. And so they were there the night I said, this mission starts now. Boom. She was there. And so there's times when we've been at pagan festivals or things where, conversations complicated come up. And she's always been because we're relatively the same age and kind of both heretical in our own weird way, that she'll at times be like, you can't do that, or that person can't do that, or that's not acceptable, whatever it is, because, she doesn't just back up everything I say and do, and vice versa. But she's always been a great ally to me to be able to point out things that I need to know. And, again, meaning that if somebody with color has an issue with what I'm doing, that's their truth. And I can't be entitled to say, deal with it. Well, no, it's my job to try to be like, explain who I am in the process. And, there's just some people that just will never like me. There's nothing I can do about that. But if you don't like me, you're going to have to just say that. You can't start to try to bring up a conversation about something that's not accurate. And but if it is, if my message is going to make this conversation happen, I don't mind. All I was doing is making people say, well, let's read this book. What's this guy going on about? And again, I knew this would happen. I just didn't know it was going to happen just yet. That's good, because I tested the ramparts, tested the ashe that's built around this project to see what it would stand and how it could handle it. And I'm happy. I'm good to go. Armor is good. Spears are sharp. Arrows are ready. Anyone wants to come and take it, I implore you. Time and place.
All right. Well, hopefully it'll cause more controversy when it actually comes out and people have actually read it, That's just the thing, is these people haven't even read it. They don't know anything. It's like people get to where they're going to attack a person's livelihood over a post they probably read on Facebook or some other social media. Somebody pissed them off and said some stuff about you, and people just roll with that. It's like, come on, people. It's like, do some homework at least.
My belief in all this is that, the irresponsibility, because they claim at this Pantheacon, this group of people, about the safe space.
Yes.
Personally, safe space is the epitome of white privilege.
Yes.
Safe space for the black woman who's going to have her children taken away from the system that I know right now that's happening, and I'm trying to do everything for free to try to help use magic to make sure that doesn't happen. No safe space for her. No safe space for anyone who's getting shot by police.
Preach it, my white brother. Yes.
They show up at these events. We want a safe space. Height of white privilege. Fucking hypocrisy.
Yeah, there's you step out your door. There's no safe space. You're even inside your house. It's not a safe space. You shouldn't. These are supposed to be people that cast spells and shit. How safe are you supposed to feel around there? You shouldn't feel safe. You should have all your shit on. You should be armed to the teeth. Somebody out there is probably an asshole.
Yeah, again, that goes to the point that our magical community is filled with a lot of people that have no magic. I don't know what they're doing here. And what I'm happy about is I think this has isolated that. This has sort of brought that to the surface. And a lot of people have realized that the voices making the most noise are not clergy and they're not initiated. They're people that are just, I don't know what they're doing here. I don't know who they are. And I don't know who they're speaking for, because they're not speaking for you. They're not speaking for me. They're not speaking for a lot of other people I know. Right now, they're not speaking for anybody but themselves and causing a lot of damage. And I think in this day and age, if you're going to purposely, in America, of all places, it's not like that here in Canada. We've got problems here too, but it's not like it is in America. To fan the flames of racism in this day and age, in this moment in time, is so disgusting. I don't even know what to say. And I think that there's terrible, consequences will become of this upon some people for doing such a thing. It's so irresponsible. And for people that claim to have a safe space, it's amazing that when they lose their high ground, they dox people's personal information. That's their tactics. And then when that happens, they threaten violence if that doesn't work. They're just hypocrites and pathetic in every way. They're the weakest people that I know, and they should not ever be in a pagan community, because pagan magic, ritual magic, it's dangerous. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable, and you're supposed to be able to come out of it transformed. But you should be, a sense of uneasiness when you go into a real ritual, don't you think?
Yes. Well, one thing, the tradition I grew up in, they had one thing that I don't see in other traditions, and they're called the wardens. And most people just didn't even know who the wardens were in a circle, but they were kind of like the cops of the circle. They dealt with all problems, be they magical problems, be they attitude, be they the priestess lost her wine goblet. Their entire job was just to make sure that everything rolled without a hitch in a way that did not distract the priest and priestess from their job. And one of these things that they did was they dealt with assholes. It's like somebody was stirring up shit in the ritual space. They were trained on how to calmly extract those people from our presence. And I, being an anarchist, I have a hard time, saying, maybe we need cops. But I'm not an anarchist that says, we can't just suddenly not have cops. Because, again, people are assholes. And just because you have a spirituality doesn't mean you can't be an asshole. It might make you, feel you can be an asshole in more places. Now you can cast hexes. You can be an asshole on an ethereal plane. But there's just never been anything in any magical community that I know of, people whose job it was to deal with the shit. There's always been shit. We have some serious shit now. Some of our shit, man, people tend to forget, man, that this country was just swayed way over to the right, largely by a bunch of Russian troll farms. And they ignited passions between opposing groups here in America. They did a Black Lives Matter rally and a white supremacist rally that weren't actually scheduled. They scheduled them. They made these events clash in our streets. I don't know if we're important enough, but a bunch of witches just really publicly came out and said they were hexing Trump. And we have the twitchiest regime I've ever known. And most people wouldn't even take that shit seriously. I didn't even take that shit seriously. Maybe I did some stuff. Maybe I didn't do some stuff. I'm not like those people that talk about that kind of stuff. It's not really, in the world we live in, it's not really that far-fetched for him to get all twitchy and set some of his infiltration powers this way. There are other arms other than the FBI that he still has control of. And I'm not going to go all conspiracy theory, but people just need to, people need to check our shit. We need to not let ourselves be so easily push-buttoned into violently assaulting each other. We need to check our shit. We need to know, where did this come from? Where is this shit I heard on Facebook? What's this all about? What's the source?
I think it's dangerous too. Like right now, as an observer of America, clearly there's a very strong pull of influence now from very extreme Christians. We're talking the kind that want to kill gay people, take powers away from black people, and anything else. And you know what? The last thing witches need to be doing is running around and saying, we're cursing, because that just puts us in danger at events. It's a matter of time. And so if everyone doesn't just shut the fuck up and just lay low a bit and stop trying to get public attention on cursing their savior, the less apropos we're going to be to have somebody say, you know what, I'm going to come over and make an example of these crazies, because we see this happens in America, so we don't need that, right? And so the last thing you want is to bring attention upon us. So if these people that are doing these public cursings, they're causing damage potentially for some other open public people, maybe down in Tennessee, that didn't do nothing and don't believe in that, but that's where the psycho is, and he's going to make a point, because he's not going to drive all the way to Brooklyn or drive down to wherever these people are on TV doing a public curse against Trump, so, sorry, Freudian slip. So, I think it's just dangerous and irresponsible to even do that. I think we should, too many people want cult of personality. You know, too many people want to be a famous witch and all that stuff, and I just think it's silly. You know, like we weren't meant to be that. Sometimes it happens for some people. I think a lot of people, and it should happen to people that are trained. So you know this. You're trained. You're trained in more than one tradition.
Yeah.
Able to handle chaos if it came, or some issues, right? You know, back in the day when we were all in covens, we were taught how to deal with dynamics. Somebody left the coven, there was drama. Everybody had to learn how to deal with that. Those are the people who should be in charge of stuff. Initiated people who understand these traditions and know how to handle dynamics of, you know, group issues or fights or, you know, chaos and stuff like that. You know, and when you just have somebody who's a pagan shows up, I don't want to go into a tradition because, you know, I don't have to. I'm a pagan. I don't believe in that initiation stuff. You know, people are now looking down upon British traditional witchcraft like it's, you know, what a waste of time. Waste of time. My personal opinion is some of the people that can throw down the worst curse I've ever seen come to truth is a person who's a third degree in a British traditional witchcraft tradition, because as opposed to some person who just went down to Haiti or something and then had went and spent a few days alone, all of a sudden they get a title and now they think they're fucking everyone up. No, you're the same asshole you were fucking 2 weeks ago. Other people that have spent 10 years, new moon, full moon, everything in between, to learn to hone their personal magic before they start wielding that stuff, that's who you want to worry about. Not the person who just all of a sudden discovered Conjuring root work and says, no, I'm going to throw a curse. Good luck with that.
I hear you. So we were watching your video, and there was you talked about how you first got involved in voodoo. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, as being a drummer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that literally was it. It was literally because I was already a drummer. And I'd already started to drum a little bit in my old tradition, and I don't mind saying it, but, you know, I used to spend a lot of time in Texas, and I'm a third degree in the, some people's opinion, notorious Sumerian family tradition. So I belong to that group of people, the Sumerians, the ones who work with the Mesopotamian paradigm. And there's a whole bunch of them in Texas that, you know, used to be very popular and very, you know, because we live, you know, I'd learned all my magic and how to do certain things on a big level and kind of a fun level through them. And I was already drumming with them because drumming is part of that tradition, is part of that magic. So it just was a matter of time, just stumbling around, and ended up, you know, being invited to drum at a voodoo ceremony, and I liked it, and I thought, that's really cool. And then it just, you know, to paraphrase, over a few years until eventually, you know, I ended up being invited into, you know, this happens multiple times, you know, and so eventually even to when I was apprenticing with Prince Bamadele, who's since moved back to Yoruba land in Nigeria to be the chief of Asoro region, you know, I had to relearn drumming again with him, because that's the first time I realized proper Yoruba drumming, there is no djembes. They use sakara drums, right? And bata drums that are not even the bata drums that they use in Cuba. You know, so the sakara drum, you hit it with a stick and you hold it, it's like a tambourine look. And had to relearn a whole pile of things to learn certain rhythms. And if they weren't played right, well, then the agungun could not come out, or a certain risha would not come up. It just, you know, I had to do it right. So there's been multiple times where various different traditions, that because of that I had a skill, that I got invited and ended up becoming part of them. So, and then Louis Martinet, who is the priest of the New Orleans Voodoo Spiritual Temple, he's also a drumming mentor, and that's all these sort of syncopated drum rhythms of New Orleans voodoo, because there is an actual culture of drumming in New Orleans, and that's because it's where jazz came out of. And so the rhythms in New Orleans are meant to be played by anybody with any drum, and they're 4/4 time. They're not polyrhythmic, you know, they're not polyrhythms. And so, you know, he's also been a mentor of mine in that department. He's a famous occultist in his own right, you know, a heretic to some and such. And if I could, just for 1 second, I want to state publicly, I understand the whole issue with Sally Ann Glassman. Okay, so I've read all these articles. I think that the way people are talking about it is probably not the greatest, but, you know, if her people in Haiti tell her she can do what she's doing, then I guess that's a conversation you need to have with them. But would I ever even think about, when it comes to the Orisha, to be like, well, let's give them lettuce. Let's just not do that. That's not going to happen.
Are you referring to the fact that she's a vegan?
Yeah, and that, you know, they do no blood sacrifice, and everyone's freaking out. These articles going everywhere. Mm-hmm. I understand that argument, right? So that's part of the Haitian Vodou tradition. I don't know too many people that agree with what she's doing, but I think it's a worthy debate, you know. But it's not even for me to have, because I don't belong to that tradition. So it's not even for me to talk about. I only know what I know, and I know that specifically when I was present for an initiation, I used to assist Principal Medilli's rites when he did them. I would help him perform the sacrament, and quite often it would happen at my house. He didn't like doing them at his place, so we'd come here to do them at my house. So, this is a place where things could get done. And a woman that was going through one of the passage rites for a couple of days here, she was a vegan. And she was challenged because we had, I'll say it, there was a rooster and a couple of doves. And, she's like, do we have to eat them? And he's like, yeah. And she goes, but what about, if I'm vegan? And he said, you have to eat it. And she's like, well, my stomach. He goes, no, you will not get sick. This is blessed. The Orishas. And don't worry, you will not get sick. And so we did whatever had to be done. Within no time at all, we were eating that. And she did. I'll give her full marks, man. She ate that. She ate a couple of bits of that meat, and she didn't get sick. And she, the next morning, she's like, wow. And then he said, I told you, you never question me. You will not get sick. It's sacred. You have to do it. And, it's fine. So I've seen a vegan person, eat meat for the first time in many, many years. She never eat meat since then. But she did it for that right, because you have to. Sometimes you have to. And if you're not, and you're going to take a tradition where that is required and not do it, well, I think that's when you're appropriating. I'm not saying that's what Sally Ann Glassman is doing. I've met her many times. She's always been very nice to me. I don't know her that well, but she's always been very polite, and I have a lot of respect for. You can never argue with success, is what I say. If magic works, it works. So whatever she's doing it right. And in her article, she says, and I've heard her say it many times, her Mambos and her Ungans that made her, they don't have a problem with it. So there's the complicated conversation. It's not for me to have. But I just wanted to go on the record that, as a white man, I'd be like, well, you guys should debate that, because I don't know about that, but, it doesn't mean I'm going to be horrendous to her and say horrible things about her and call her all kinds of names and stuff. There's just, but I get it. It's an angry world right now. It's an angry world. But I just want to go on the record on that one.
Yeah.
A lot of people were equating her to my issue at times.
Yeah.
I saw one of those articles, just like out of Sally Ann. I'm like, you're not fucking helping me right now, A few times I was like, awkward,
Yeah, I'd heard the name come up, but I hadn't heard it in context. But yeah, I did hear about the vegan voodoo. And it's like, and I don't know. Well, the problem with these traditions is there's variations in every house, and it's like I don't practice veganly, but sometimes your spirits ask for things, as long as they're not ask me to sacrifice virgins or something, I tend to bring it. And I remember one time my Lucero ended up looking like he was wearing a sniper suit. He was just so covered in random foliage that he told me, put that one on my head, put that one on my head. I just kept putting shit on his head. The thing I did totally worked. So I no reason for any of those to even be magical plants that he told me to put on his head. But sometimes if you're actually connected to what you're doing, your spirits may be telling you to do things that maybe other people's spirits didn't tell them to do. Not everything's a tradition. Spirits have different likes and dislikes. I don't know if they're going to be vegan, but sometimes they might want a salad, and other times they might not.
I understand. I mean, it's not like it's uncommon to present yams to certain Orisha, right? And with palm oil on there, it doesn't always have to have blood on there. It's a fact. I've seen, again, I can only I only know Yoruba Ifa. So, and I know one other complicated situation is that in the Yoruba culture, they want every color to glorify the Orishas. They want the whole world to come to the Orishas. That's what they want. They would like to make sure they're controlling how it's done and make sure it's done right, but they want the world to glorify the Orishas. They don't want that separation. They think they want that. And at the same time, over here, sometimes I've been present with actual, Yoruba visiting, because when they come, I drum for them, I spend time with them. And a few times I've seen them when they see somebody who is doing lakumi. And I've been in there when they walked away. I said, I don't know what they're doing. What was that? Not all of them are, of course they love it, but I've seen those complicated moments where they're just like, I don't even know what that was. And I'd be like, wow, this is crazy. Like, wow, it's, who am I to say? I don't know. I'm just an observer. I'm just a drummer. And I help perform what needs to be done and whatever is asked of me. So, when it comes, it's
I definitely
complicated.
Get where you're coming from. Witchdoctor Utu, we are like almost out of time here. You got to plug some stuff. Tell us where we can get your book. You got a website, whatever you got to plug. Plug it now.
I don't really got a website right now. I've actually disengaged a few. I thought it'd be smart to just sort of like hide some people that I love and protect some people that I love. And my book, though, you go to Amazon, you just type up Conjuring Harriet, Mama Moses Tubman. Boom, there it is. There's a few reviews in there, a few people. You can buy it from there. The book will be released in February at Convocation. I think it's the 20-something. So it's the week after Pantheacon. So if anyone's deciding which one they want to go to, come to Detroit. It'll be a good time. It's going to be an awesome time. And I'm so happy that that's where it'll be released. So the book will not be in anyone's hand until February. Until then, just people can come by and keep their eye on my page on Facebook. And also the Dragon Ritual Drummers. We're not doing much right now. We kind of slowed down a little bit so that I could be ready to go and do this book stuff. But we'll be playing somewhere in February. We always do. And play around, these parts. So, people just need to come and check out Dragon Ritual Drummers on Facebook or my page. My page is wide open. And I also want to say I really appreciate you guys inviting me on the show. It means a lot. I don't know, if
We appreciate you coming on.
or whatever, but we discussed some things, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to somebody who, some people that understand, what's at stake here and actually understands the semantics of what we're talking about. That's very refreshing.
We appreciate you coming on and dealing with all the technical difficulties to get you on. Hopefully we'll figure that out before you come on next time. Utu, Witchdoctor Utu. I say it both ways. Thanks for coming on, Wittersons.
What do you prefer?
Yeah.
Well, my name is Utu. It used to be Witchdoctor Utu when Facebook launched the end. When they took the profile away and I was able to prove I was, they flipped it around to be Witchdoctor. Even then I was like, this one. I was like, well, it's translated lost. So yeah, I lost it. Trust me, for 1,000 people tried to report that page. It's all the way down.
I think the title would come first, right? Like a doctor.
Yeah.
Okay. Witchdoctor Utu, I think, was correct. Marta knows. If Marta tells me, that's how we say it. How do we say it, Marta?
I'd say Witchdoctor Utu.
All right, that's how it is. That's how you should say it, man. She's the best editor. Hey, yeah.
Okay.
Next time you write a book, get her to edit it. It'll be perfect. Okay.
And we'll see you in August.
We'll see you in August.
For sure. And actually, you know what? You guys might see me sooner than that because I'm coming to California. So.
Oh, well, hell yes.
But if so, I do plan on being in Los Angeles, so hopefully we'll be able to get together.
We're right there.
We are in it.
Yeah, I know. I wish I was there right now weather-wise, so, but I look forward to it.
All right. Pleasure meeting you. Thanks for coming on, brother.
All right, man. All the best. Thank you.
Okay. And that was this week's Wittershins. We have one song to play to cut out, man. Because we are late. All right.
Absinthe is the aphrodisiac of the self. The green fairy who lives in the absinthe wants your soul.
It's the